Good evening, guys. We'll start.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir. Oh, yeah, I had to call somebody and I forgot. The way you reacted now, there's a guy I had to call, he reacts the same way. Your tone. Okay, one sec. Where was I? What do I have to do now? Okay, one sec. Suggest me some restaurant name here. No, not food delivery app name.
Zomato.
No, Zomato is there, but
Swiggy. Swiggy.
Swiggy and Zomato is there, but let us say we are going to build a competition to that.
Food app. Food delivery app.
Okay, let's call it Grab It. Okay. Let's call it Grab It. We'll do an easy one first and then we'll get into healthcare, banking domain examples also, which are real-time examples. But okay, what I'll do is I'll share my screen. We'll give still a couple of minutes to people. Okay, we're there. Okay, here we go. Okay, one second. Priyanka. Is there anybody who's attending this class for the first time? All of you are familiar. Okay, so I'm today. What is the agenda? So yesterday, yesterday. So yesterday we had a session. I hope who were not there did see the session in the video or on the recording. So yesterday we saw that before starting any sprint, there is a preparation session for that. That session is called the grooming session. So whatever stories we have to do in the next sprint, that is, let us say sprint 4, the preparation for that starts in sprint 3. Minimum one break, it could be 2 sprints before. So there is something called a grooming session where we start refining the requirements. That is the word you have to use, refining the requirements. Mount completed. Refining the session, refining the requirements or the grooming session. So grooming session is where the product owner, the scrum master, the development team, or what you call the scrum team, sit together and they finalize the user stories. User stories are the requirements. Requirements come in the form of a user story. So after you have decided your user stories, which ones you are going to, what are the ready for development, you will start with which session?
Sprint planning, sir.
Planning.
Which is the first session of your, which is the first meeting of your sprint?
Sprint planning.
Sprint planning.
Can I do sprint planning just like that? No, I need 2 things. What are those 2 things?
Refined plan, PBIs and
Product.
capacity chart.
Sheet.
This I will give it to you. I need a capacity chart which tells me what is the availability of my developers and QAs. How to build a capacity sheet, we'll see today. At least a very basic view we'll see and then we'll refine it further. But what is a capacity sheet, we'll see too. Then another thing which we need.
Story is ready for development.
We need stories which are ready for development. Requirements come in the form of a user story, and we need stories that are ready for development. So stories which the PO will introduce and stories that are ready for development. So there is an entire process that happens. Raw requirements versus a final story which is ready for development. Raw story, raw story to the story which is ready for development. There are different stages that it has to cross. All those stages are crossed in the grooming call. The Scrum Master is responsible to put this culture in a team where he refines the requirement with the entire team from a raw requirement to the requirement which is now ready for development. This entire process is the most important one, and it happens in the grooming call. Now, sprint planning is the first event which we can do only and only if we have stories that are ready for development and we have the capacity sheet. If we have both the things, then we can do sprint planning. And what is it after the sprint planning which we get?
Sprint
Sprint
goal and
goal and a
selected
sprint backlog.
PBIs.
Sprint goal and the sprint
Sprint backlog.
Okay, this is theory, we got it. Now let's see in practical life how you are going to see this in Jira and how you are going to start a sprint and how you are going to create a Scrum board. So as a Scrum Master, you are supposed to have a Scrum board in Jira. It could be some other tools, but most popular of them all is Jira. If you are comfortable with any other tool, you can use that tool also. But primarily, I'll be covering Jira, and you can say that you were using Jira in your teams as a Scrum Master. Is that okay? So I'll, because 60, 70, 80% of the companies worldwide, most of the market is with Jira only. Okay. Okay, let us see. And then of course we talked about what happens after sprint planning, which event, and so on and so forth. But today we are going to cover. Yeah, so the
Sir, we just want to know, like you are saying, definition or that stories will be ready in the sprint planning, like it should be ready. So is this DOR? Is this called DOR? Just want to know.
So there is a checklist which we have to follow in order to see whether a particular story is ready for development or not. That we'll talk about. DOR, DOD, acceptance criteria, what is a user story? We'll get into more details. We just saw yesterday that user stories should be in the form of, there's a particular structure and it has a acceptance criteria. We'll talk about user stories, not today. Today's agenda is to make you understand how in Jira you will create a board, how you will start a sprint, how does a sprint backlog look like, and so on and so forth. Okay, let us start. Wasim sir hasn't received PPT. Can you guys, any of you can send it to Wasim sir? Okay. Okay, so I will click on this project. I am going to create a new project. By the way, just go to Google and type free Jira login or Jira login and create a Jira login for yourself, either today or tomorrow, whenever. But whatever I am telling you, you will not be able to follow unless you create a Jira account for yourself. It is free. It has a lot of features for the first few days, then it is free. Mine is a free version now, but you guys will have additional features also. You have to create your own stories, own dashboard, all of these things. Unless you practice, you will not be very comfortable in your interview. So this is not theory, it has to be practical. You have to do it with your own hands and on your own screen. And if you struggle to do it, then of course, let me know. I will help you out. Okay, so I am going to, so this is a new, and by the way, when you join an organization, most of the organizations, somebody would create a board for you. But if board is not created for you, then you can create it for yourself. So I went to projects. This is the first step you have to do. They will give you a Jira link of the organization. Jira link is there. Then there is something called projects. You click on that plus, or maybe they will give you an existing. So this is an existing project. So you say you are the, so this is an existing project. This is already existing. Some backlog is there, some print. So, but we'll start it from scratch. Okay, we don't have a project. So there you are given few different options. I will select software development and it gives me various options. I am going to choose Scrum now, and at later point of time, we'll go to Kanban also. So let us say you join a team where core development work is happening. We are going to use Scrum. So I choose Scrum, and all of you can create a Jira account or should create a Jira account and do all of this on your own. If you struggle, let me know. So I chose software development, then I chose Scrum. It says use a template. I'm going to use a template. There are a couple of options here: team managed and company managed. Company managed is where there are multiple teams and you can see the other teams details also. It is a interconnected Jira. But for now, I'm going to select a team managed project and I will have all the details. So let us say the name of my application is Grab It. And then it picks a key on its own. Choose the access level. So I'm going to say open. Anybody can see it. So let us say I'm going to click on next. So I just gave the project name. That's it. Whatever is our application name was Grab It. So I gave it. So typically, okay, then I'm, or why did I do this? Now I'm going to do, okay. So I'm going to skip this. So now it asks me when you are creating a new project, it asks me, do you want to connect with Confluence? So Confluence is another application which is connected to your Jira, which is used for documentation purposes, LLDs, HLDs, how to list, troubleshooting list, team structure, all wherever, basically where you keep your documentation of the you can run your retros also using Confluence. So I'm going to say connected and it says what is the name of your space. So I say grab underscore documentation, or I can say anything which I want. And it will allow me. Okay. Looks like it doesn't work. I'll connect it later. So okay. Now I'm going to do this is crap. Why is this? One sec. Okay. So this is an absolutely empty board. So what I did, I went to projects, plus sign I clicked on, and I just put in the name of my project. I selected company managed, or there were two options there. So I selected one of them, which was a standalone project. You could have selected the other one also. What actually in real life, whatever you have to do, there will be either an agile coach or some Jira admin. They will give you some instructions. Okay, this is how you have to do for your organization. Okay. Then this is a simple board. It has no workflow. Fine. We'll get to workflow later on. So I go to backlog. So there nothing will say product backlog. Your backlog is basically your product backlog. This, I go to here. I click on this. This backlog is essentially my product backlog. Whatever tickets I create here, they will all be a part of my product backlog. This backlog is my product backlog. Any and every kind of ticket, whatever is created here is my product backlog. Is this clear to all of us? And there is only one backlog. Is that clear? What if there are two product owners? One is taking care of something, one is taking care of something. How do I create two backlogs? No, you'll still have one backlog for your product, but you can still differentiate between two product owners through various mechanisms that I'll tell you. Please remind me how If there are two product owners, how will you handle it? Anyways, for now you have one backlog. Okay, now Mr. PO who comes, he says, the first feature we have to create is user onboarding, isn't it? Which was the first feature. So first feature we will create is user onboarding. Now there could be different configurations in your Jira. At the very top, you can start with initiative, then move on to epic or feature. Then feature could be broken down into epic. So all those crazy configurations we'll talk about later. For now, a very basic understanding I will start and then we'll move on. So on a basic level, your features are called epics in Jira. So let us say my first feature is user onboarding. What does it do? It allows users to register, log in, and start using the application. So the first feature we are going to build is user onboarding. So let me create an epic. Who will create an epic? The product manager and the product owner. Either one of those will create the epic. Epic is basically your feature. How many features you will have in your application? So let us say typically in any release, you will target 2, 3, 4 epics depending on the complexity of the. So feature, every product has features. All those features are normally translated into epics. It could be feature also. You could call it a feature also in Jira, but typically I am using a configuration where I am calling feature a epic. So I'm going to create, it doesn't allow me to.
Sir, based on epic, it will categorize or based on epic, actually it will categorize our story.
No, that we'll get into.
Okay.
That we'll get into. See, this is the option. So in this basic configuration, I am getting 4 things: epic, story, bug, and task. So I am creating, so I am the product owner and I want to create one epic. This is the epic. What is the role of this epic? The role of this epic is that it allows users to register, log in, and start using the application. Now, this epic will be further subdivided into stories. So I am going to allow login using username and password, email and password. Then I, as a product owner, I say I will also allow phone and OTP method. I will also allow social media login. So all those are various sub functionalities within this feature. I may allow multi-factor authentication. I may allow Face ID to be used or biometric to be used. So there could be different mechanisms to log in. What my application is going to use will depend on what product owner decides. Is that clear? So user onboarding is the first epic I'm going to create. The goal of this epic is to do this. Okay. Then I'm going to click on create. Okay. So now I go back. I don't think it's going to show. Okay, it's going to show it at a story level. Okay, what I will do is, let me create a story for. So, okay, so as a user, I want to, so let us say the stories, I'm not going to add the acceptance criteria now. So let me create a story, very basic level. Okay, so this is the story. So this backlog is only showing the stories. It's not showing the epics. I can change this behavior also, but I'm not going to do it for now. What I'm going to do it, I'm going to open this story. Story, I'm not going to add anything to this. This is just a container. For now, what is no story we'll get into later. But what I'm trying to say is How does a product owner create a story? So product owner will go to create and open a story. This is the requirement he has. And then every story needs to be linked to a particular feature. In this case, it is the user onboarding feature that we have to link it to. Who will do this? This will be done by the
PO.
PO or PM. Product manager. Product manager works on a feature level. On a story level, the product owner or the BA will work. Okay. So I'm going to create one more story here. Okay. This is I'm going to backlog. I'm going to create 2-3 stories. This is not a complete story. This is just a container just to make you understand, and we'll get into more details of how to actually fill the entire thing. Okay. So I'm going to create more stories here. I'll take the questions after 2-3 minutes. Let me cover the basics first and then I'll take the question. Okay. So as I want to log in secure, let us say if I forget my password, so that feature, that sub functionality also needs to be there. What if a guest has to be allowed? So that also I'm going to create. So these are all requirements which the PO is going to create. So what I'm doing now is linking this feature into user stories. So this is the first feature we are targeting, and this feature has 3 stories for now. Okay. Then let's create another feature. So after user logs in, I want him to browse various restaurants. So let me create one more epic. I'm just creating epics. Okay. Don't take any stress. Okay. This is restaurant discovery. So what does it do? What is this feature? It allows users to browse various restaurants. Okay. So that's what this epic does. Okay. Then within this epic, so the first requirement is that as a user, I want to see the list of all the nearby restaurants that I can choose the food from. Okay. So POs, okay, this is the previous. Okay. So okay, then I create this story, but this story, the epic is different. This is the epic. In this story, this is the first feature, which is the user onboarding. Let me create one more story and then we'll get into the details. So we will groom these stories further, but this is just a placeholder. Okay. So what I have done is I've just created 2 epics. Epics are features. Features are broken down into stories. So user onboarding is a epic or a feature which says that PO says that we have to allow users to log in into our application. So for that, we have broken down into, we will allow email and password to be used to create an account. Then what if the secured account option should be there. Then what if a guest wants to log in without login, I want to allow guest also, that is another requirement. If I forget the password, that is another requirement. So he creates these stories for the team to do. And then there are 2 other stories for the second feature which we want to build. Okay. Now, I think Pyali has a question.
So my question was that you're using the word epic and feature interchangeably, like is it the same
Interchangeably.
thing?
But same thing for now. But
Okay.
in for various organizations, the configuration is different. They could have feature at the top. They could divide the feature into epics. Then epic is further broken down into stories. Stories are further broken down into subtasks. There could be a configuration which I am using. Epic is broken down into stories. Stories are broken down into subtasks. Epic are your features. There could be another configuration where they have initiative. Initiative is a term which is used if, let us say, I want to use AI now for all my products. So at a product level or at a portfolio level, a portfolio is one where there are multiple products. I have 3 products in my portfolio. Within all my products, I want to introduce AI features. So the organization wide, there will be an initiative that AI will be introduced. So that initiative will be spanning across releases, and that will be on top. Then underneath that will be features. Underneath that will be features. But let's not get into there. On a very base, we'll get there also. But on a very basic level, there will be features. Features are your epics. Epics. So you will have 2, 3, 4 epics, and then underneath those epics, you will have stories.
Okay.
Under the stories, you will have subtasks. So each story, we will divide it into various tasks. That, forget about it for now. That is also we'll do maybe Monday or Tuesday. For now, this is my product backlog. We have not even, this is sprint 0. We are just starting out. It's a new team. New team, new PO, new SM, new people. PO says, okay, this is what I have now. These are the stories that we have now, and out of which we have to we have to pick up few stories. So now let us say I have 3 developers or 4 developers and 2 testers, 1 PO. This is a 7-member team which I have. Now let us see how they will behave in a sprint planning meeting. Yeah, Abhilasha, that you have a question.
Where we can see the list of epics we have added?
Epics, I'll show you. Okay.
Okay.
This is actually, you can see epics also. You just have to change the settings. So that is fine. I'll show you how to see the epics also. Okay. The bottom line is, this is the product backlog. That is the concept you have to understand. This backlog means product backlog. And every project or every product will have one backlog. In this backlog, everything is going to be there. Task, subtask, epics, bugs, every damn thing you create, everything is going to be a part of this backlog. This is clear? Okay. Now, this is sprint 1. This is sprint planning. Suppose out of these stories, let us say these 3 stories and this 1 story, these are ready for development. Rest of the stories, out of these 6 stories, 4 stories are ready for development. Okay. So typically there is something called priority. Priority tag will also be here. So there will be some stories which will be high priority, some stories low in priority, some stories medium in priority, some stories critical in priority. So the first thing we will pick up in our sprint planning is, are there any high priority stories? That is what we will pick up first. If then there is some bandwidth left, then we will pick up medium. If then there is some bandwidth left, then we will pick up low. So you are going to pick up items based on the priority. As an A, oh, this is an easy story. Let me do it first. It is easy. Let's pick it. No. You are not going to pick up stories based on the convenience of the developers and testers. You will pick up stories based on the priority set by the product owner. There can be negotiation. People can say, okay, this is easy. This is a complex one. We will not be able to complete it. We'll do it next time. That PO can decide. That also PO can decide whether that he's allowing or not. But the first point you have to notice, in the sprint planning, the stories out of these 6 stories which are ready for development, that list you need to have after the grooming call. So grooming call has already happened. And let us say you had no grooming call. Nahi grooming call. Straight away you are into planning. Your developers have no clue what story is what. Can they decide which story they can pick up? No, it's all guesswork with no logic or reason. So that is why you need grooming calls. You need to have a discussion before you get into sprint planning. So let us say now out of 4 stories, all 4 are important and we have to see. So there are 4 developers. Each one will pick one because we don't have any data. We don't know any previous data we don't have. So we will see how to build that data also, but not today. We'll see it in third session next week. Okay. So let us say Kiran is one developer. He says, okay, I'm going to pick up this story. So he's going to drag that story from the product backlog into the sprint backlog. What are we doing? The team is picking up, the team is choosing what stories they are going to work on in the first sprint. Based on the discussion, Kiran says, yeah, I'm very comfortable with this. I'm going to start this story. What is in their story, that we'll talk later. But first understand the concept. Okay, somebody else says, okay, I'm going to pick this story. That discussion has already happened. He is clear with what he has to do in the grooming call. Then this story is not ready, that guest story. PO says, this guest, I don't want, this is fine, we can develop it later. This is not ready. This story access, secured access, is again third developer picks it. Then the last developer says, I'm going to pick this story. This is the first story I want to. Okay. So 4 developers, these people have picked up based on their judgment and gut feel. They have picked the story because this is sprint 1. We have no data. We don't know how these guys will perform. We don't know anything else. We are just doing it on a gut feel. Okay. We have not done the estimation of it so far, but we will also do estimation before sprint 1. How you will do estimation, that also will explain it. For now, assume the estimation is done, and based on their discussion, they have picked up these 4 stories. But in reality, there is one other, we have to do the subtasking, the estimation. The story has to be broken down into task level. Then you have to calculate either the story points or in hours. There are 2 or 3 different methods. Good companies will only do story pointing. Bad companies will get into hours. How many breaks you are taking, how many hours you are taking, what are you doing at 1:35, all that crap they will do. But you need to know all these methods. The micromanagement companies also do it hourly basis. That also I will explain, because you could end up in a very bad company. There are plenty of them around. So you cannot choose your companies. It's sometimes luck. So, but for now, this is sprint planning. These 4 stories were ready for development, and your developers have picked these stories. So out of these 4 stories, one QA is going to do these. The other QA says, I'm going to do these. Okay, fine. So the process is, in the sprint planning, this is what happens. These people will pick their stories and put it into the sprint. Either you can drag it, or you can open the story and assign a sprint value there. If I open this story, there is an option there of the sprint, this sprint. So you can click here and you can choose the option of whatever sprint you are going to be picking. So either you do a drag and drop, or you can manually assign the sprint value to that story. PO cannot assign this story. Scrum Master should not assign this story. This story should be picked by the developer himself or herself. They should be allowed the freedom to have this discussion and then decide who will do which story. Is this clear? So this is what happens in the sprint planning. Okay. Now they have decided. Okay. Now the Scrum Master says, okay, do you commit all these stories? The team says, yes, we are comfortable with these stories. We can complete these stories in this sprint. Okay. Let's see whether they can complete it or not. So Scrum Master clicks on Start Sprint. So when you click on Start Sprint, you have a sprint name. You can make crazy names also, but this is a very basic name. Now this is a 2-week sprint. It could be 3 weeks, 4 weeks, depending on the... So a lot of people are obsessed with 2-week sprint. Sometimes you will get into a team which has complex requirements. They will not be able to, they will just be able to complete development in 2 weeks. They will not be able to test it in those 2 weeks. In those cases, if the development cycle, by development cycle, what I mean is development, testing, and then fixing bugs. development. So you have to develop, then you have to test, then you have to fix the bugs also. And then you have to get a review also done by the product owner. If all of these things take 15 days, then it could be a 3-week sprint. If it takes 20 days, it could be a 4-week sprint. It depends on what the team is comfortable with. What is their typical development cycle? Don't be obsessed with a 2-week sprint. Typically, it should be a 2-week sprint, because more than that, it is very difficult to keep the priorities. Somebody will come and give some other priority work. So typically it should be 2 weeks. But if the product is complex, let us say your team is able to complete development only after 10 days. They can't test it. So then increase it. So that we'll get into more into that. But for now, it is a 2-week sprint. This is the start date. This is the end date. Sprint goal. This will be generated by the, Jira is very, they have integrated some AI here. AI is suggesting some sprint goal. No, sir, we are not ready for that now. Let's say amalgam and go to hell. Okay, so now sprint goal, PO decides that build basic login functionality for beta 1 release. We put some sprint goal. Scrum Master team, PO, they will decide, but PO has the most input. Based on his inputs and the other people also, collectively we will decide, okay, build basic login functionality for the beta 1 release. So I'm going to start this. So this is clear. You will have once you start the sprint, you will decide the duration based on what is the perfect duration for your team. When they think that they can complete development, testing, fixing bugs in 10 days, it is 10 days. They think it is 20 days, it is 20 days. So at least initially they will not have any clue. So it's based on hunch, judgment, previous experience. But after 2 or 3 sprints, you will get a fair idea of what is the perfect sprint duration for these guys. And then you can maybe increase it, decrease it, depending on, and then stick to it for a considerable period of time and see how it goes. Okay, so now once you decide the sprint name, duration, sprint goal, then you click on start, and then it puts me back to a board. This is again an empty board for now. We'll create this. Okay, let me go back to the sprint. So this is your product backlog. And this is your sprint backlog. This is the sprint backlog. These 4 stories are my deliverables for this sprint. So as a Scrum Master, your sprint backlog are the number of items that are your deliverables for that particular sprint. And a practical tip: always be directly involved in delivery. That is the easiest way to climb the corporate ladder, and your job will be safe. If you are directly involved in delivery, it's very tedious, very exhausting. But if you are good at delivery, then sky's the limit. There are not enough people who can do 60, 70, 80% delivery sprint after sprint. If you can do that, you can climb the corporate ladder. Out of 50 Scrum Masters, only maybe 5, 10 are able to have a team which is high performing. Typically, they will not be able to complete the stories, or the testing will not be completed, or even the development will not be completed. Or if it is completed, it has too many bugs. The bugs will keep on going on and on, sprint after sprint. There will be too many spillovers. They will not be able to decide what is the. So if you know the process, if you are able to deliver a lot of stories sprint after sprint, and you have a control on the team. Those kind of people are hard to find, and you will have a very flourishing career. During the course of these 2 months, not only I will tell you how to do what to as a basic Scrum Master, but how to be a extremely good Scrum Master. Because that is what you have to prove, boss. You are not saying you are a fresher. You are saying you are an experienced Scrum Master. So you need to know the tips of the trade. Yeah.
So one doubt, since you're talking about delivery, like in the first sprint, yes, nobody knows like how much time it is going to take. So will the developers say like, okay, we will finish up within 10 days, or there is at least one time the Scrum Master can say, okay, we can take 15 days, like,
No.
no. Okay.
So your discussion should be that 4 to 6 days of development time, 1 to 2 days of testing time, a day of bug fixing, and then day 9 is day 8 is your. So some stories will be little simple, some stories will be little difficult, some stories it could be 1 or 2 days also, some stories could be 3, but we don't actually in Agile, we don't talk about days. We talk about points. We'll get there. So let's not get into that discussion now, because it's a different discussion.
But
So
we
now
cannot suggest anything, man. We just can like they will only have to decide on themselves. Like how.
that suggestions can also come, but in what form we will
Oh,
discuss.
okay, yeah, got it. Thank you
But
so much.
estimations should be provided by the dev team. POs should not influence. SM should not influence.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Because tomorrow, if it is not getting completed, your developers and QAs are going to scream at you. Yeah, Priyanka.
So I had one question. Like for this particular story which we created, so on the same story, the developers and the testers will start working together, right?
That will get into. That will get into. How do you add acceptance criteria? How do you finalize it? How do you put story points? How do you prioritize? How do you divide that story? If the
Because
story is too
till the
big,
time, yeah,
if
till
the
the time
story
the
is too big, what
development
do you
will
do?
happen, the
Hmm.
testers will also do something. Till the time they don't have
They will
testing.
create test cases and test designs
Mhm.
and create the test data.
Okay, so that all will come in the Jira part where when
So
we are
as soon
doing.
as by the way, if people are not getting it, don't worry, I'll get into those details. Since she's asking, I'm explaining her. So what happens is I start the development work. When I start the development work, you start the test cases and test design and test data creation, because that also takes time.
Yeah,
Because you
correct.
have
So
to think,
all correct.
think about it and do.
Yeah. So all these will be mapped in Jira somehow, both the testing and the
Everything will
okay.
be mapped in Jira. So by the time my development is done, your test cases and test designs and test data is ready. And as soon as I give the story to QA, he's ready to execute those tests.
Okay.
Okay, but by the way, I'm not getting into that discussion since she asked. I'm explaining her, but for rest of you, if you don't get it, don't worry. We'll do this discussion from the basic. So what I am now interested more is that if you don't understand how to start a sprint in Jira, then you can ask me. This is my motto here. I just want to show you what is a product backlog. Product backlog is this, where the product owner is creating all these stories. There are no bugs for now, okay? Those will be created by the QAs. I'll show you how. So this is the product backlog, and this is in the sprint planning. We have just decided that we are going to do these stories. So this is my sprint backlog. This is my product backlog. That's all for now. Then why is it getting empty? It should show to do. Oh. Yeah, now it is fine. There was no wonder Jira is. I don't think Jira actually has a good QA team. Anyways, that's a different discussion. Okay, so this is a very basic workflow. Things are in to do, then they go in progress, then they go in done. But this is not typically how a user story will follow. This is not the path. So what is the path that a user story follows? So from to do to done, this is the birth of a user story. This is the death of a user story. Death is when it is done, deployed to production. Birth is when product owner creates it. So the entire life cycle of a user story you must be aware of. That is your SDLC for Agile. So there is something called SDLC, software development lifecycle, how the requirements come and how they go to the customer. So SDLC is software development lifecycle, how the requirements come and how it goes, ultimately how it reaches to the customer. So in waterfall model, there was a different phase-wise approach. In Agile, it is the life cycle of a user story. When the user story is created in backlog, that is the birth of a requirement. And when it is done, when you complete it, that is the end of that user story. So what are the different stages which a user story gets into? So that you must be aware. It is not as simple as to do, in progress, and done. There are various stages in between that we'll create and talk about. So that is another very important concept that you need to know to crack good interviews. Life cycle of a user story. How? Because in each stage it can get stuck, and a Scrum Master should know what is the problem in each stage. So that understanding you must have, that we'll get into. So for now, so you saw this board. Okay, so see, my whole approach is going to be based on the practical this thing, because unless you know these things in practical way, theory you can get into Google and all that doesn't matter. Okay. One sec. Let me go again to. Okay. So this is where I am at now. This is a typical board, but this is not a real-time board. Okay. Real-time board will be something like this. Let me change it to dev. And by the way, you will not have, in most companies, unless you join some startup or a small or to mid-size company, you will not have the access to create boards and do workflow changes. Your agile coach or some Jira admin, somebody would be doing that for you. For in a small company, then you will have access to the workflow and you can change these things. So to do in dev, then probably after the dev is complete, maybe in testing. So I'm not going to go in very many details for now, just the very basic. And then some other day we'll get into, once we get into stories, then we'll get into that. So let us say in dev got completed, it got into testing, and then one more thing. Let us say one more blocked. This is what Scrum Master is going to. Okay, let me put it somewhere here. Okay. So let us say, I'll stop now for a minute. Till now, do you have any questions? In the sprint planning, you will decide how many stories you can pick up. Then those developers and testers will move those stories into the sprint backlog. And then you will click on start sprint when the team is saying, okay, these are the stories we are going to do. This is our sprint goal. This is our duration. And you'll get to start the sprint. So this is how you start the sprint. This is how a sprint backlog looks like. This is how a product backlog looks like. This is till now. Is this okay? Fine.
One
All of
question.
you look stumped. So why do you look stumped? This is fine, right? This is very easy here. Yeah, Abhilasha.
Yeah, so I was asking, when we create the epic or feature, so does it takes the project name automatically?
Yeah, yes. And by the way, Scrum Master would not create the epic. It is the product manager or the product owner who will do it.
Yes.
Typically, Scrum Master should not create any tasks, stories. But in real life, sir, I have to do this. Nobody is giving me a ticket. Array, you give me, you create a ticket and give. But not an ideal practice. But This is how when we work in India, it's all bhai bana do. So you will create it. But ideally, technical stories and tasks, technical leads and architects have to do. QA related tasks, QA lead can create. And the functional task, the the PO and the BA has to create. Scrum Master should not create anything. Technical tasks, technical leads and architect. Functional tasks and stories, PO and BA. QA related tasks, QA leads can do. Okay. Now we also saw that this was a very basic workflow. So we added few things. So typically the stories will be in to do, then they will go to in dev. From in dev, they will go to in testing, and to in testing from done. So let us say now we are into daily stand-up. This is the board. Just like I am sharing this board with you guys, you will share it with your team. And then the team will start discussing these stories with you. So let us say this is day 2. This is in dev. This is in dev. Okay. On day 2, we needed something. So we needed some UX design on this story. This UX design, some other team, some UX designer was there. He was supposed to give us. He didn't give. So on day 2, this is in block. So now the DSU starts. DSU starts. This guy says, yeah, I have no blockers. This story is going fine. The other guy says, yeah, I am also cool. There is no problem. I am going fine. This guy says, boss, my story needs a UX designer. It was supposed to be delivered yesterday, but still now I haven't got any UX design from the other team. So he will block his story. Then after the DSU, either this person, this developer will talk to the other team, or you as a Scrum Master will talk to the other team and find out why there is a delay and try to resolve this issue by talking to that team. Okay. Then there is this developer who's India-England series. He doesn't want to come to the office. He says, I am not well. Last day of the test match, to hell with the sprint. He says he's on leave, sick leave. In the morning, you get that message. I will not be available today, emergency leave. Okay. So then you discuss it with the product owner and the team. Boss, is it a sick leave? Yeah. This guy is on a sick leave. No problem. He will come back. Can we wait for a day to start the story? Yeah. This is not urgent. This is fine. We can live with that. So let us say PO says, no. We have to start the story immediately. We can't wait. And this guy has viral fever. He may be not available for 2 days, 3 days, or 4 days. So somebody else has to take up. So then say, okay, this story is blocked. In any case, maybe this team is not going to deliver. Then this developer says, can you boss take this up? Okay, we can have a discussion on this after this meeting. So after this DSU, this developer and this PO and SM connects and discusses whether this guy can start the story, because the original developer may not be available for 3-4 days and we need to start this. As it is, this story is blocked, so we can adjust our plan. These are the things typically which are discussed in the daily stand-up. You got this? I'll stop for now, then dwell further. So now you are getting a hang of how in real life, how the daily stand-ups happen and what do you have to do. As a Scrum Master, you are supposed to see which story is getting into blocked state and what are the other things that are happening. And if the story is not moving further, then what are the things that you can do too? So one story is blocked, you have to talk to the other team and get a resolution done. And then somebody did not come. Do you have to do that adjustment? Does somebody else pick up the work? Is it that important? How soon this person can join back? Those sorts of discussion. So this is just 2 examples. Then we'll get into more examples. Are you getting a hang of it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Sudipta.
Yes, sir.
Suganya. Okay, Suganya, Mohammed sir, and Deepika. I can't see you, so I can't make out whether you guys are So Suganya and Deepika. So I don't know whether you guys are awake or rest of you are. Okay. Yes, it's good. Okay. By the way, as a Scrum Master, one other thing, you guys will always have to be on camera as a Scrum Master. Team आए ना आए कैमरा पे, you have to be there. 1 मिनट में कोई चुगली करने चला जाएगा ऊपर, ये नहीं आता वही कैमरा पे, और टीम को कहता है आने के लिए. You are the management guy, you have to do that, okay? Essentially, you are the management guy, okay? Agile is अपनी जगह है, but you are the eye on the people, whether they are on their things or not. And in any meeting, one of the most, and this is just a general rule, for interviews also. Interviewer आए ना है, वैसे भी इंडिया में बहुत बदतमीज होते हैं लोग. They have no sense of, they have no work ethic or culture. They interviewers will not come on the camera, but you are supposed to be on camera. It's always a, and it's easy. क्या करना है, एक दिन नहाना ही तो है, take a bath यार, what is there? Okay, so I'm just kidding. Okay, so but be on camera. Please be on camera, whether somebody is on the camera or not. You be on camera and be very confident, and always be 2 minutes before a meeting. That is, it will help you at least in the initial part of your career. Okay. 100% on any interview, you will switch on your camera. Sticky wiki laga lena, kuch cheating ke liye, kuch there you find some ways, but sometimes they ask you to screen share also. So if you are planning to cheat, then you have to defeat that screen share also. Even on screen share, if you are still able to see something, that will help. Otherwise, other things will not help. So they will ask you to do a screen share if you are on the, okay. But be on the video, be very confident. That helps. Okay. Now coming back to, so even now, let us move to another topic. Sorry, this is Friday, but what are we doing anyways? So we have to, all of us have to pay bills. That's the reality of capitalism. This is Friday. Okay. Now, another question will be to you. How many different environments are there in your team? You are handling a team, you are the Scrum Master. How many different environments are there? That is a question. So as soon as I get a story to develop, I will start writing the code on my local laptop. Typically, that is what happens. I will start writing the code on my laptop. Once I think the code is working fine, it is in a reasonable shape, I have done a basic test, I am going to put my code on a development server, or what is called dev box. I start writing the code. If the code is in reasonable shape, this is typically, I mean, not all the time this is going to be there, but typically a typical software team. So if the code is fine, then I'm going to put it on a dev box. How CI/CD comes and all, that also we'll get into that. But on a basic level, from local, I will put it on a dev box. On the development server, I will do what is called unit testing. Unit testing is something the developer will do, and in Agile, unit testing is important because testing is no longer the duty of only quality analyst or QA or the testers. Developers are also responsible for testing their code in DevBox. This is a cultural shift that Scrum Master is responsible for. This is how Agile is different to Waterfall or any other method. In Agile, we say developer also checks his code in DevBox and does unit testing, because quality is also the responsibility of the developers, not only testers. Is this cultural change clear to you guys? So as a great Scrum Master or a good Scrum Master that you all are, you suggest your team that the developer also tests his code on the dev box. So whatever testing, and again, dev testing and QA testing are two completely different things. Okay, so unit testing is something which is happening on the dev box. Why you need to know? Because some developer will say, I am doing unit testing. For 4 days, he will be on unit testing only. Goli de raha, he's just playing with you. Then how to get into all those, that we'll also get into. But anyways, so on local machine, you put the code is fine, you put it on DevBox, and on DevBox, the code is unit tested. Okay, now let us say code review is done. Code review is also done by the lead. So you check the code, somebody else will check the code. Code review and unit testing. These two things will happen.
Sir,
So let us say now everything is fine on the DevBox, then it is ready to be deployed. You can, deployment is nothing but you will copy the code and put it on the next server, which is your testing server. This is the DevBox owned by the developers. Then there is another machine or server where this code will be tested. Who will test this code? Your QA people or the testers. So if the code is ready on the DevBox, then it will be deployed. It's a fancy name for copy and pasting. There are different ways of doing it. So you will pick the code and put it on the QA box or the testing server, or what is typically called SIT. So one environment you have dev, the other environment is SIT. So in dev, unit testing and code review, once that is done, it is put to QA or the testing server or the SIT. SIT is a very beautiful server. It has to work. If it doesn't work, there will be an escalation. Plenty of time. So one team I had, I was not new, but 6 months, 8 months. So I got an escalation. What happened? They said, Joey, all your, so typically QA, there'll be, the percentage of girls is more in QA. So all my QA team, all 6, 7, 8 girls, they are making noise in the cafeteria. My delivery manager says, what is happening? What is your team doing? All your team is making noise. What happened? Then I came to know the SIT server was down. So whenever SIT server is your QA server, whenever it is down or not working, immediate escalation may happen if these girls go and make noise. Okay. So the point I'm trying to make is QA server is your SIT server. If it has any issues, then your QA team is blocked. All your 6, 7, 8 people, whatever are in QS, they will not be able to proceed, and your sprint goal is in danger. So SIT is a very sensitive server. And typically SIT is most of the time slow, or there are some issues, and so on and so forth. And what will you do about it? That also will. So I'm all getting into the practical aspects of what you are going to be dealing with on a day-to-day basis. So dev server, SIT server. SIT people are testing. Let us say everything is fine. There are no issues. For case 1, everything is great. So if everything is great, then you will show it to the PO. PO says, yeah, everything is fine, beautiful, great. How he does that, that also we'll get into. But for now, let us assume it is good. And then it is good. Then from that server, it is then another, let us add another server. This is your basic functional testing. This is called functional testing, which QA does. Then there are business users, people who are actually your users, people who are going to be using your application or software. Those are called business users. Then there could be another environment which is called UAT, where business users will check your software. Or let us assume there is no UAT. Let us assume after SIT, you will straight away deploy it to production. Code is good, everything is fine, POS checked it, you will get into production. So dev, SIT and production. Or there could be dev, SIT, UAT and production. Or there could be one other parallel, you could have a demo environment. A demo environment typically is there for product companies where your latest release will be there so that you can show it to the world. Baki jagah chale na chale code. Demo में चलना चाहिए. Okay. So dev, SIT, dev, SIT, production. It could be dev, SIT, demo and production. It could be dev, SIT, UAT, demo and production. So these are basic configuration. Of course, there could be complicated ones also, but if you are used to some complicated configurations, say it. If you are not, then say I have dev, SIT, and dem. How does your user story travel from local machine to dev box? Dev box unit testing and code review happens. Then SIT QA tests it. If everything is fine, great. PO checks it. It goes to production and or demo. This is a basic setup. We'll get into more details when we get into CI/CD. How typically you can get into Git and all those tools and what happens. That also we'll get into. So you should know how many environments you have in your team. How many QAs, how many developers, how many POs, how many BAs, and what is the technology that your team is using, and what are the different environments that your user story is traveling onto. So user story is in to-do state. Then it goes to local, it is in progress, then in dev, then in testing. When it is in testing, it is in SIT. When it is done, it is moved to either demo or production. Is this clear? The basic flow of how things go. So these are the very basics of things. And then, of course, we will move further. Daily stand-up also, we saw a couple of examples. Then on Monday, we will get into more details. What all typical blockers are. Typical blockers are your merge conflicts, your CI/CD issues, requirements not clear, and so on and so forth. We'll get into that. So typically, what are the issues then? And then we will see whether we are able to complete this stories or not. What if we are not able to complete the stories? So what do you do when you are not able to complete the stories? In Jira, what do you do? How do you close the sprint? Then how will you start the next sprint? All of those discussions will carry on Monday. Okay. I hope you are liking it also and learning it also in a practical way. The real this thing is you have to get used to the terminology that we are using. And then, of course, there are a lot of other details we will get into. So sprint planning, I will show you one more thing. Discussion we'll have in detail next time, but you should know this. Today is Friday, so you guys can maybe have early. One sec, where is this? Where is my... Where is my Excel, bro? Here. Okay, are you guys able to see my Excel? Just let me know. You guys are able to see?
Yes.
Okay. So this is how a typical capacity sheet looks like. I'll show you step by step how to create it also. So this is what you have to, you will have, these things will be filled during the sprint planning. So let us say this is a 5-member team, 4 developers, 1 QA. Arya is the QA, and these 4, Alice, Bob, Vijay, Milo, these are your developers. Then this is total number of days is 10. Total number of hours available is 80. 10 into 8 is 80. 8 hours every day. 80 hours is my total capacity. Then I am going to reduce from my total capacity. Planned leaves. What, let us say Arya says I'm not going to be available for 1 day. Bob says for 2 days. Milo is also not available for 2 days. Arya is available. She's available on all days. So whatever their leaves are for those 10 days, you will have a leave tracker. They will put their leaves on that leave tracker. From that leave tracker, you will pick that information and put it here in the sprint planning. They will have a leave tracker. They will predict that in the next 10 days, this is planned leave. That they have some anniversary, birthday, whatever they have. So these are planned leaves. So they are declaring it upfront on the first day of the sprint in the sprint planning that these are the leaves they are taking. You will reduce that. So Alice is not available. So 80 hours is not available. She's already saying she'll not be available for 8 hours. So you can only plan for 72 hours of work. Then unplanned leave. But how can you plan for unplanned leave? So how you do that is, so typically how many leaves in the unplanned leaves were there in the last month? So you say in your team there were, let us say 3, 4, 5, whatever was the leave. So let us say you had 5 people and there were 3 unplanned leaves in the last month. So you can say, okay, 0.5 per head is my unplanned leave. Or let us say in last month you had 5 unplanned leaves in the entire month for 5 people. So then, okay, 5 are there and 5 people are there, 1 unplanned leave per resource. So based on your previous data, you can take, but typically if there is no data available, we take 0.5 days of unplanned leave, because emergency can come, taxi strike is there, your wife can beat you, your children can be late to school, whatever, anything can happen. So and Gen Z's they are not in a mood, so what to do? Anyways, so let us say 4 hours. So 4 hours is 0.5 days. So I've taken just 0.5 days as standard. Then there is something called technical debt. Technical debt is let's not get into it. There is something called technical debt. We'll get into that. Then some unplanned work could be there. Suddenly there is a bug. Suddenly there is an extra task which is coming up. So we are saying let's keep 10% of that capacity for that. Then there are Scrum meetings. People will be attending your meetings also. All that we have to do. So I am reducing planned leave, unplanned leave, technical debt, planned work. These are some of the things you can reduce. There are others also. There are less things also. But typically, these are the things you will reduce from your total available capacity. If 80 hours are available, then not all 80 hours are available for doing work. There are other things also that people will be, they will have leaves, planned leaves. There are older code fixes. What are that? I'll get into. So now Alice is only available for 44 hours. Bob is for 36. All this is all of this is your wastage. So then this team is typically available for 200 hours. Then based on this, you have to see how much work they can do. So typically, let us say your team is in the first sprint, they were available for 200 hours, then 210 hours, then 190. So typically they are available for 200 hours. So typically, let us say if they are available for 200 hours and they complete 5 stories. So in the next sprint, if they are available for 200 hours and on an average, they are completing 5 stories. So you can say your bandwidth is 5 stories. Now, let us say in one sprint, you calculate this, they are only available for 100 hours. Some Christmas week, some Diwali week, some week where people are not available. Now, your typical capacity is 200 hours. Now, they are only available for 100 hours. Can you take your normal 5 stories? No, because your team is not available 100%. So now they are available only 50%, because typically they are available for 200 hours. Now they are available for only 100 hours. Now, so typically they used to do 5 stories. Now they can do 2.5 stories. 2.5 you can't do. So okay, 2 stories and 1 very easy story, something like that. You have to reduce your bandwidth based on your availability. How you will get your bandwidth, that is a separate discussion. Story pointing, velocity, that we'll get into. So you will have your bandwidth, but you can only use your capacity if your availability is there. If the availability is not there, then you cannot use your capacity. Let us say my team's capacity is that they can do 10 stories, but that is only if the availability is normal. If the availability is 70% because of some festival or some viral fever, then I have to reduce my capacity also, because my availability is. So availability and capacity, these two things that Scrum Master has to match. We'll get into more details. This was just an introduction. Is this little bit clear? The last part. Okay. You have to check your availability, and then you have to see what is your capacity. Capacity is either in hours or in story points. And that you have to match your availability with your capacity. How do you do that? We'll talk about in a little bit more detail when we get into story pointing. Okay. So I hope now you have a very practical. So some people are impatient. How do you do that? Array, first day I can't tell you. Wait for 2-3 days. We'll get into it. So now you know how a Scrum board looks like. Now you know how a product backlog and sprint backlog looks like. Now you know when you go to the sprint planning, how a capacity sheet looks like. Then we'll dwell more on this. We'll build on these concepts. Okay, any questions? We'll have 5 more minutes. You can ask your questions and then we'll wind up. You can go through the session again, but these are like very basic things for Scrum Masters. But go through it, ask questions, and then we'll go further.
Yeah, one
Deepak, sir?
question.
Yeah, sorry,
Sir.
Abhilasha.
Okay.
So Abhilasha is the one who you send your questions and she's asking on the behalf of everybody. Is that?
No.
Oh, she's asking on her own. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So actually, what used to happen in my last project, actually there were two guys who always says like I will be on leave in the, I mean for 1 day or 2 day leave in the next sprint. So
Yeah.
every time that happens, so that's why like 8 hours or 60.
So
16
was
hours.
that planned or unplanned?
Every time they used to say it is planned,
Emergency
but
leave.
yeah, but later they cancelled it during the sprint just to like save 8 or 16 hours of work, so they don't need to do
Okay.
so.
Then,
The,
okay. There is always ad hoc tasks. There are always lower priority, medium priority bugs. So whenever somebody else leaves, you can give those. Don't worry. There's a lot of things you can do here.
but how being a scrum master we should react? I mean,
No,
what
you
what?
should create. So if let us say if somebody has an extra bandwidth.
Mm-hmm.
So let us say they complete their story early or they cancel their leave. So then you can have what is called team agreements. If there is extra bandwidth available, then what are we going to do? So you can give 3-4 suggestions. You can get into training, you can get into further grooming, you can get into bug fixing. So whatever they pick up.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, there is no free will, but you are giving the impression that there is free will. This is how we were fooled. Now we are going to fool others. That's how it works, right? As kids, you will get a chocolate. We know ultimately the entire childhood was controlled by teachers, mother, father, uncle, aunties, everything, right? But we were given the illusion that there is free will. This is how it works, right? Anyways, let's not get there. Okay, but you get the idea, right? Yes, Mohammed sir.
Yeah, this question is related to the different environments that we spoke some time back. So, if a story, when we say story is complete, so in which environment it usually will be?
Okay, so typically, whatever, so that depends on the team. So let us say some teams promote story from SIT to demo. Whenever it is ready to be deployed to demo, they say, okay, everything is fine. They deploy it to demo and they can close the story. Sometimes they will wait. Sometimes they will close it in UAT. Sometimes they will wait for the stories to be deployed to production. Typical mature proper agile environments, you will wait the story for to be completed, to be deployed to production, wait for a day. If it is fine, you will close the story. So it depends on the team and what is the culture of that team, what is the culture of that organization. There is no one answer to it. It depends on the team. Whatever the team decides is the right thing to do. But ideally, there is a checklist we see. That checklist is called DoD. We'll get into that. We see the quality of the work is good. Whether we are closing it in SIT, whether we are closing it in UAT, whether we are closing it in demo, it depends.
Okay, but if see the duration of the sprint is not very long, so once it is developed, then if we wait until it goes to production, that is like you cannot close the
Okay.
story, right?
So let us say you are in a team which has a 10-day sprint, and within those 10 days, you cannot close your stories because there is some delay in production. In that case, 10 days is not enough. You have to go into a 20-day, maybe a 25-day sprint. Whatever is the right fit for your development cycle.
Okay.
And there
So,
will be some people who think only 10-day sprint is possible. But not all teams are doing that fast-paced development.
okay, so as low as we increase the size of the sprint, so how can I say? So the number, like the days when we usually do that sprint review and all that also will differ, right?
Correct.
So is there any particular calculation that
There is a
we need
particular
to do?
calculation. So if you go to the PPT, you will find this calculation, and I will also discuss it. I wanted to cover the this practical aspects first. If you go to the your PPT,
Okay.
I will wait here. I'm also going to that PPT. There is some slide which see, you can go to slide number 28. So typically the sprints are 1 to 4 weeks. So if the sprint is 1 week, then sprint review will be 2 hours. If the sprint is 4 weeks, then it will be 2 hours. So there are recommended guidelines that based on the sprint length, these events will have different duration, and they will ask you in the first round. Some people obsessed with theory, they will ask you these questions. So you can get it on slide 28. What will be the typical duration for each event? If the sprint size is 1 week, then what? Sprint size is 2 weeks, then what? That calculation is there. You got it, right?
Yes, I got it. But here it says sprint time 1 to 4 weeks. Planning.
No, this is on page 28, right?
Yeah, I'm on 28 only.
28, right? So it says 1 to 4 weeks, which means if the sprint is 1 week, then the sprint planning should be 2 hours. Sprint review should be 2 hours. Sprint retrospect should be 1.5 hours.
1.5 hours. Okay.
Okay. If it is the maximum is 4 weeks, then, and you can do if it is 2 weeks, then 4 hours. If it's 3 weeks, 6 hours, like that you do.
Yeah.
They will ask you, by the way, they will ask you this. So you need to remember it. Very theoretical, but they may ask. Yeah, Venkatesh.
Thank you.
Sorry, Mohammed sir, you got it right?
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yes, Venkatesh sir.
Sir, before the sprint planning, we are planning for two things. One is the uh, product backlog refinement, and another is the capacity chart. Sir, what about the risk and all these things? Risk contingency plans.
Fine.
That is also have to be done.
Yes. So risks are raised. Risks can be raised in each event.
Okay.
In the grooming also you can raise a risk. In the planning also you can raise the risk. In the DSU also you can raise the risk. But how do you track that risk? That is called risk management.
Risk management.
You will encourage the team, and risk is anything which prevents you from completing your stories, tasks, bugs, and so on.
So will this be done on the go in the sprint, or before the sprint we have to have
There is
manage
a
this?
there is a special technique which we use typically these days. This technique is called Rome. I'll get into that. How do you manage it?
Okay. So, and one more question, sir. Sorry, sir. The sprint for some product backlog items, we have collaborated to decided that we will be having a 3 week sprint because we thinking that it's a complex nature. Sir, next sprint can we go for 2?
No.
It depends.
Typically you will have whatever your development cycle is. Typically it could be 15 days, 10 days, 20 days. So let us say you start with 15 days, and after 3 or 4 sprints, it looks like it is too long. Then you can reduce it, but then experiment with it for 6, 8, 10 sprints. 15
Okay.
sprints. Frequent changing of sprints is not recommended, but depending on the complexity of or the maturity of your team, the stage at which the product is, you can change it, but not too frequently.
Okay.
Okay, it's not like you can never change it. You can change it, but not like every week you are changing. That's not like it. Maybe for a release, you can release is typically 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. Typically, for a particular release, you should have a stable sprint length.
Right.
And if you want to experiment, you can experiment in the next release.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, Wasim sir.
Sir, like this is not related to this one. You have given us the homework called the what is the configuration of the team and tech stack. We were supposed to discuss today, but we'll
Monday. Monday. Too much information today, yaar.
वो तो है.
So Monday.
Abhilasha ji, please send the PPT.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, I'll just quickly do a poll. And any other questions, or we can wind.
So what is the technique you just mentioned for sprint planning? Something R something.
No, that is ROAM. ROAM technique is risk management.
Oh, risk management.
We will get into that.
I have one query. How a team is formed? Like, is Scrum Master involved in formation of
Scrum
the
Master
team?
is sometimes involved, depending on the stature of the Scrum Master. Let us say you are already a senior Scrum Master in your organization. Obviously, you will have some political clout. You will have already delivered a couple of projects. Then they would ask you. If you're just joining in a new organization, then you may not have that say. It depends on what is your position in the organization. Typically, whosoever are the most important people, they will decide: delivery manager, product managers, architects, senior Scrum Master, agile coaches are sometimes also involved. So it depends on your stature in the organization, your experience level. So let us say you are a very senior Scrum Master, you're joining with 8 years of experience, 7 years of experience, 6 years of experience, and then they may ask you also.
Or maybe I would be handed over a team which is already
that also.
yeah.
That also.
Okay.
Typically, it's luck, yeah. But eventually, it's how connected you are. Networking की job है यार. कितने किसको जानते हो, क्या delivery की है, all that. You know how it works in organizations.
And is there any proportion of developers and QAs that we need to keep?
Typically 3:1. 4:1 is also okay for a simple product. It depends again on the nature of the product. Yeah. Typically, some products are very complex to test. Then obviously 2:1 is needed. But typically 3:1 or 4:1.
Thank you.
Yep. But if you end up with the Wipro or HCL 5:1, 6:1, no, there is no. जितना जो मिल जाए बस ठीक है.
Okay, 5 developers, 1 tester.
5 developers, 1 tester. कई बार टेस्टर नहीं भी मिलता. ऐसी भी टीम्स मैंने देर आर टीम टेस्टर ही नहीं है. कब आएगा तुम यार? यू क्रिएट स्टोरीज, यू डेवलप स्टोरीज, वी आर गेटिंग द टेस्टर आल्सो, डोंट वरी. तो स्क्रम मास्टर क्या करेगा बेचारा? That also, it's a very funny world. You will realize how difficult it is to get the software development done. It is very complex also. There's a lot of uncertainty, plus ego of the people, team dynamics, politics. There is all sorts. So it's not easy to get a software development.
One of the project, we didn't have any tester. Only developer guy did the testing and he has put it into the production directly.
Or production में code फट गया. Then you're saying, oh, what was
post corona? This one happened like post corona. Even the tester is there, they are not ready to take him.
So you will see all sorts of crazy things, but that's fine. Okay. I think already 10:30. I have to do it by 10 or 10:15. But okay. Have a nice. We'll take questions first on Monday, and then we'll proceed further. We'll get into more. So the difficulty level will be little bit increased for the next week, since this was the first week. But it will be more everything which you need to clear the interview. Okay. So nothing much and nothing less, because
One
tough, tricky interview. So I have to cover a lot here.
one small thing.
Hmm.
You said Jira, we can have a free version. Is there for Azure DevOps also? Is there a free version?
I think there should be one. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
Azure also has a free version. You can.
There should be one.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. Take care. Have a nice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy weekend. Thank you.
Thank
Maybe.
you. Happy
Thank you.
weekend.
Happy weekend.
Thank you.
Happy weekend.